Level 1, $20,000 a year. You make $11.50 an hour. You didn't calculate that. You know it because it follows you everywhere. Into the grocery aisle, into the gas station at 6 a.m., into every conversation you avoid about what you do. After taxes, you bring home about $1,480 a month. Rent takes $795 of it. Not for an apartment, for a room, in someone else's house, under someone else's rules, with a wall thin enough that their 2 a.m. becomes yours. You eat what costs less: rice, eggs, whatever's on the bottom shelf. Eventually, you stop pretending these are choices. The number chooses. $20,000 a year doesn't give you preferences. It gives you arithmetic and expects you to do it at the register. Your car has 187,000 miles on it. The check engine light has been on so long it's just part of the dashboard now. You put $25 of gas in at a time because a full tank means something else doesn't happen this week. Everything here is a trade: gas or groceries. Groceries or the phone bill or the shoes that started splitting in March. You're at the register with toothpaste and bread. The card declines not because the account is empty, but because $13.60 hasn't cleared from this morning's transfer. You step aside, you refresh the app, you refresh it again. The cashier waits. The person behind you shifts their weight. Something inside you contracts that has nothing to do with money. Your high school friends split into two currents. You watch their lives arrive on your screen from a parking lot between shifts. You don't resent them. You just stop looking, because comparison at this level is staring at the sun. It teaches you nothing. It only burns. You search listings at midnight. Every posting that pays more wants experience you can't get without already having it. That's the shape of it. Not laziness, a closed loop. Work, get paid, survive, repeat. What keeps you awake isn't tonight. It's the possibility that the loop has no exit. Rule 1, at $20,000, you don't manage money. Money manages you. Level 2, $35,000 a year. The first income that feels like footing instead of falling. Not good money, real money, arriving on a schedule with benefits and a title under your name and an email signature. You get your own apartment, not a room. One bedroom, a kitchen you can turn around in, a door that locks with silence on the other side that belongs entirely to you. That silence is the most expensive thing you've ever owned, and it cost you nothing but the lease. You buy food without running totals. You fill the tank all the way and watch the pump click off, a small ceremony people 3 levels up will never understand. You buy new shoes, not nice ones, new ones, and you wear them into work standing slightly differently than the day before. But $35,000 in a city where a one-bedroom runs $1,250 is still tight. Roughly half of American renters spend more than 30% of income on housing. You're one of them. You just don't feel it every second anymore. The tightness left your throat and settled into your shoulders. The panic is gone, replaced by something duller, a background awareness that one bad month, one transmission, pulls the whole thing backward. You start noticing people earning slightly more, not dramatically, just enough that their weekends, their February look different. You're not envious, you're awake. You check the balance on Fridays. Not fear, habit. The number is never thrilling and never frightening, and that narrow band is exactly where $35,000 lives. And for the first time, you think about after. Rule 2, $35,000 is where you stop surviving and start looking forward. Level 3, $50,000 a year. Now you're average, the statistical kind, hovering near the middle of American personal income. You did everything they told you: the degree, the interviews, direct deposit every other Friday, and doing it right feels indistinguishable from ordinary. A one-bedroom in a neighborhood you don't have to explain, a car under 100,000 miles, a credit card you clear most months. You can say yes to dinner without opening your banking app under the table. That used to be unimaginable. Now it's Tuesday. That's the trouble. One night you run the projection. 50,000, standard raises, 30 more years. Subtract inflation. The number at the end is survivable. Not free, survivable. You stare at it and feel something you weren't braced for. Not fear, disappointment. It seeps in slowly, like cold through a window you can't find. Then you learn your coworker makes $82,000. Same hours, different department. You found out by accident and can't unlearn it. The gap isn't $32,000, it's a different apartment, a different car, a different relationship with the word emergency. So you start thinking about more, not greed, clarity. $50,000 is the one altitude you see both directions at once. You look back at $20,000 and you're grateful. You look up at $100,000 and you're hungry. Sitting between those two views is the most restless place on the scale. Rule 3. $50,000 is the mirror. It shows you exactly where you are and exactly where you're not. Level 4. $75,000 a year. Something shifts, and not in the bank account, in your mornings. You wake up and money isn't the first thought. It's in the room, it's just not leading. You move somewhere better. Not luxury, space, a second bedroom that becomes an office, a kitchen you cook in on a weeknight, a street where nothing wakes you. Walking into a place you chose rather than accepted changes how you hold your shoulders permanently. You book a flight without waiting for the fare to drop. Tiny adjustments that feel enormous to anyone who remembers the parking lot. You're not wealthy, but the math finally closes. You contribute past the 401k match. You build an emergency fund that could actually absorb an emergency. 3 months, then 5. The money starts doing something other than leaving. People call you successful. You don't correct them, but the word feels borrowed, a jacket that fits and still isn't yours. Because you can see $100,000 from here, and $75,000 still feels like the waiting room. The distance from your oldest friends shows now, not in arguments, in omissions, in what you stop mentioning, because describing your new place to someone renting a room is a language they didn't ask to learn. You don't pull away, the altitude does that part. Rule 4. $75,000 is where money gets quiet. In that quiet, you finally hear yourself. Level 5. $100,000 a year. 6 figures, the number everyone points at. You assumed crossing it would feel like arrival. It feels like walking into a larger room lined with doors you didn't know existed. Taxes take more than you rehearsed. Between federal brackets, the 7.65% payroll bite, and state tax, $100,000 lands near $73,000 in hand before premiums and retirement come off the top. In San Francisco or New York, 6 figures is competent survival wearing an impressive title. You're wealthy to your family, unremarkable to your coworker, behind your neighbor. The same number means 3 things depending on who's looking. You stop telling people what you earn. Not modesty, insulation. Relatives call more. Friends arrive with ideas that require capital. Strangers online explain that 6 figures isn't real money. Everyone has an opinion about a number none of them have held. And the leap from $75,000 to $100,000 lands nothing like the leap from $20,000 to $35,000. That first one rebuilt your life. This one expanded your menu. Options without direction is a more comfortable version of being lost. You sit with the number you chased for a decade and understand something uncomfortable. The chasing was the structure. Having it feels nothing like wanting it. Rule 5. 6 figures is a door, not a destination. Level 6. $150,000 a year. Life changes visibly. Not dramatically, visibly. Better apartment, newer car, actual vacations with flights and time zones. But the biggest change is social. You lose the thread in conversations about money problems, not because you stopped caring, but because you've forgotten the texture, the specific sensation of a card declining, the math at the pump. A friend asks to borrow money, trivial to you, the whole month to them. You say yes without hesitating, and they thank you in a tone heavier than the transfer. Same city, same streets, entirely different arithmetic. Your money behaves differently too. You max the 401k, you open a brokerage account, and the balance grows from something other than your labor. You start reading about withdrawal rates and 25 times your annual spending. For the first time, a future exists where the paycheck is optional. So you measure in a new unit, not dollars, freedom. Could you leave this job without panic? Take a month off? Decline what drains you? The answer is almost. Rule 6. $150,000 is where money stops being the conversation and becomes the silence between conversations nobody has anymore. Level 7. $250,000 a year. Different world, different vocabulary. Tax optimization, not tax refunds. Asset allocation, not savings rates. Backdoor Roth conversions, deferred comp. Your accountant costs more than your first car, and it's money well spent, because above $200,000, an extra 3.8% investment surtax quietly attaches itself to your portfolio. You know things like this now. The people around you earn similar numbers, not by design, by gravity. The circle recomposed itself and nobody announced it. Dinners where the bill isn't examined, weekends where nobody proposes the cheaper option. Not performance, simply cost stopped being a variable. You quit explaining your life to people who don't live at this altitude. Not arrogance, accuracy. When you say, "My tax situation is complicated," to someone earning $35,000, something moves behind their eyes. Not judgment, distance. You recognize it instantly because it's the expression you wore looking up from $20,000. Understanding both sides doesn't make it lighter, it makes it lonelier. Rule 7. The higher the income, the smaller the circle, and the smaller the circle, the quieter the room. Level 8. $500,000 a year. Money turns invisible. You don't check prices. You don't check balances. Decisions stop being about cost and start being about time. What consumes hours? What buys them back? What earns while you sleep? Your problems get different names: estate planning, irrevocable trusts, capital gains harvesting, concentration risk. Words that didn't exist below this level, now arriving from 3 professionals who bill you separately. At the top marginal rates, a third to nearly half of every additional dollar disappears before it reaches you, so the game shifts from earning more to structuring better, from income to ownership. Nobody stays here on salary alone. Equity, carry, distributions. The paycheck becomes one input among several. The isolation is real, and it isn't loneliness. The version of you eating cheap food in a parking lot wouldn't recognize this room, and you'd have no idea how to explain it to him without sounding like someone he used to resent. Rule 8. $500,000 doesn't buy happiness, it buys distance, from struggle, from people, from the version of yourself who knew exactly what $11.50 an hour felt like. Level 9. $1 million a year. You don't say it out loud. Nobody here does. The number lives in tax filings, wire confirmations, and conversations with attorneys who bill in 6-minute increments and mean it. Roughly the top 10th of 1%. Not a bigger version of the levels below, a different category entirely. You walk into rooms where outcomes are decided, Not because anyone recognizes your face, but because your judgment and your capital are useful to the people already seated. A different species of invitation, not social, structural. And your money now works on a timeline longer than your life. Trusts, generation-skipping structures, decisions still executing after you're gone. The distance from $20,000 is permanent, financial, psychological, architectural. You still remember the parking lot, the $6 meal, the card declining while the line waited. You remember it the way you remember a country you lived in as a child, familiar, foreign, yours and no longer yours. Rule 9. At $1 million, money stops measuring your worth and starts measuring your reach. Somewhere right now, someone is earning $11.50 an hour, sitting in a parking lot between shifts, eating something cheap because the break is 28 minutes and 11 are already gone. Cracked screen, tank under half, scrolling listings at midnight. They think this is about the number. It isn't. It's about what the number quietly does to the distance between who you are and who you're becoming. Paycheck arrives every 2 weeks, regardless. It doesn't ask who you are. It takes whoever shows up.